Hello, hi, and welcome everybody. So, I'm gonna yap for a couple minutes. You can skip to 155 pretty much if you want to skip all that, but just want to take the notes, say real quick that uh, all my painting footage is vertical from an iPhone. I apologize. Terrible cameraman. First time really like recording stuff like that. Second thing is I'm staying in Africa right now with my wife and my parent-in-laws, and there's no AC in the houses mainly, so you just gotta keep the window open to not be cooked and boiled alive. So if you hear any like passing traffic or anything, I apologize. Um, I also want to add that for this channel, I hope to do things with this channel and not just like make a video every year and like go nowhere with it. I really want to do something. I've tried to make a couple things before, you know, like very minimalist attempts, but this time instead of using DaVinci, I'm using CapCut. I've heard this and that about CapCut, but I mean, so far I really like it. It's been really easy to use, so hopefully it can help me turn into a actual YouTuber. And there's a few little process things about the painting that I miss, and I'll explain that when they come up. But other than that, I hope that this video is good enough to help some of those out there who uh, really don't know anything about painting minifigs, like starting from zero pretty much, which is what I had to do. I didn't know anything about it, and I tried watching some videos about it, but I found them mostly like just complicated and like confusing. So jumping into it, this is my inspiration for my models. Ever since like Space Marine 2 pretty much came out, this is like when I started painting again. I was painting before, and I only really painted like a few models before I was like, I really don't like them, and I kind of gave up on it. And then Space Marine 2 came out, and I found this like Abaddon black with Balthasar gold trim and fell in love with it. And I started painting my minis that with some other detailed work. Bulwark, he's a little special boy. He gets some white in there. He always sounds like such a nerd in the operations. I think when he's talking to that captain on the bridge for the Hive Tire operation, I can't remember exactly. I just he has that like nerd sound to him. He's great, but he's a nerd. Going over the minis. Going over the minis real quick. This will be the finished product once we're done, kinda. You'll see the trim work, the bronze and the black. The red I forgot to capture, and there is some silver in there. It's kind of hard to see. Some of my other minis I've done, Terminator, Heavy, that Beaky Boy was the first one I ever did. He's my favorite. An Assault, another Bulwark, a couple Vanguards. I know they have like actual other names in the lore and everything, but I just call them as I see them from the game, pretty much. Go over supplies really quickly. I love Citadel colors. A little costly, but they behave like how most people would probably think that paints behave, which is like when you dip a brush in there, you pull out this little gloppy stuff and you run it. Like if you're painting a wall, you get that can of paint, dip a brush in there, and when you paint the wall, it leaves behind a trail of paint. And you see these speed paints I have, Slaughter Red and Broadsword Silver from Army Painter. These guys don't really behave like that. They kind of do and they kind of don't. It's kind of hard to fully describe how they act, and I'll get to that later. This brush I got from a pack from Walmart. It was like $5 for a big old pack, and I only used like two of them out of it. The others could probably be handy if you actually know what you're doing, but I don't. So I use this one out of that pack, and the other one I was using got replaced by this boy right here. This is a 3/0, whatever that means. I still don't know. I bought it locally here from some store, and it's been my favorite brush. Like, this is my detailing brush. Anytime I want to do eyes, little detail works like Aquila's, the kind of the trim, anything like that, this is the brush I use. And you're also going to need some spray paint. I always call it spray paint. It's primer. This is Army Painter primer, matte white. I can't fly with the aerosol, so I couldn't bring it with me. But this should be exactly how it looks. A sturdy guy with some white primer on him. When you're doing primer, it's really easy. You're just kind of like, you're going to hold it about 6 to 8 inches away. Kind of in there, maybe more like 5, somewhere in there. And you'll just do like quick spurts back and forth. Not really like holding it on him, because you don't want it to like pull up and get on there too heavy, and you don't want to underdo it. You just want like a nice little coat on him. Kind of like that. Sorry for the sound effects. Brushes, you want to dip them in water really quickly, and then take a paper towel and just run it back and forth on the towel, and then you'll kind of pull it on your hand to make sure it's not like leaving behind puddles of water, but you do want it like a little damp. And to start off the process, I'm just gonna lob Abaddon Black on him, all over him pretty much. You see me not do the cape in the beginning, and then later on you see like his cape is kind of a dark red. I end up painting his cape black to match with the other reds that would be on him, except for this purity seal that's on his leg, if you can kind of see it. That slaughter red, I just paint the purity seal, the papers of it, in that red, and then this stamp is a silver. And I've kind of tried to talk about this in other takes, but a lot of my confusion when I started painting was the paints, like getting Citadel colors and then getting like Army Painter colors. I'm also kind of a tool, so I mean like maybe most other people just understand it a lot faster, but the Citadel colors, like I said, they behave like how people think paints should behave. You dip it into that little bucket, take it out, and then when you start painting on it, it leaves behind paint. It kind of gives it a good layer. Whereas with the Army Painters, they're kind of like more water based. They're called speed painters because they're supposed to be like, if you have like a whole army and you need to paint them, then you could just take your speed paints and do them fairly quickly. And I do like the speed paints. I like the colors that I have, but I don't have like a ton of them. And I would like to point that out. When I said earlier, I'm not professional. I don't have like a lot of experience. I really don't. Like, I have 3 Citadel colors and was that 7 speed paints? And out of my speed paints, I usually use like 2, which is the red and silver. Sometimes I use like this blue from my plasma guns, and I also have a Grim Black that I'll use sometime as a base coat. Saying that like it's more watery base. Sometimes if I have like a really super detailed character, like I have this Terminator, he's got the rocket pods on the top of him, and he's got one of those rotary cannon minigun deals. Using that Grim Black from Speed Paint really helps because it's more watery base, so I can run over the whole model like super easily and make sure I can cover as much as possible with it, and it really like seeps down into the recesses and the cracks and everything and covers fairly well. This is the next morning, and there's our boy. Second step is to just do it again, add another coat. Doing the second coat helps kind of bring that first coat fully, like smoothly, I guess to say. It makes it full, makes it whole. And then also any spots you miss, that you see the back of that gun there, and some of the top of the holster for the pistol on the back of his waistband, the top of it didn't get covered. That's basically all it is to it. You're just doing a second coat and making sure you get everything, making the first coat full. As far as like actual advice goes, I don't really have a ton. And that this is meant more for like somebody who doesn't really know how to paint at all, and it's just like a quick little showy like, here's how I do it. Maybe this might help you. it's not like a master class or anything. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've just figured out what works for me, and maybe this can work for somebody else. This is after the fact. He's got his double coats. Without the camera light, he does look a lot more fuller. He kind of looks similar to how he did before. It's just fully covered now. And we're going to grab that little detail brush, get some Balthasar gold on it, and start doing the trim work. When I do trim work, I kind of act like I'm stupid. I guess that's the best way to say it. And like, I load it up very, very, very thinly on just like the tip of it. And like, I bring that minifig all the way up to my face. Like, hold my breath. Not really. I don't do that. But I just hold them up, kind of get some light on them, and just go really slow. Be really patient. Just do little strokes. And talking about the Citadel colors, like even if I do make a mistake and I get some like on his chest plate or something, I can come back with that black and cover it, and it fully covers it. It's kind of like what I'm talking about with the speed paints versus the Citadel paints. Citadel paints acting like how people think paints would act versus how like the speed paints would act. If like you do just red on the minifig just from the primer, like you're talking about that primer white, then red, that white kind of like shows through, kinda. And so you have to go over that minifig like 2 or 3 times with that red to really get them covered up well, versus the black, which if you know what you're doing, you could probably get away with just doing one coat of black. I always do 2, just to like give them that fullness, that full look. And then using a base coat or a base color to do trim work also just makes it to where like I don't have to worry about the black muting the color I'm putting on top. It's just going to shine through. And so that's kind of like what I'm talking about. Other people probably know more than I do. They probably understand it quicker than I do. So maybe this can like kind of help explain it to some people when they're choosing a color. The speed paints, they kind of like layer with each other, and you can kind of see them like meld with each other almost. And it's not exactly like what I want when I'm painting. I want like Citadel colors. I want how like they act. You see here, I'm just doing that skull, just going over it super fine and everything. Just taking my time, just going slow, little bit of paint at a time, nothing crazy. As far as other details go, this is pretty much it. Like, you just get 2 colors and have an army. You can be tabletop ready. You can play the game. And me, I like to display. I like just putting them up and looking at them and be like, yeah, this is cool looking. And there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with playing them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with how I paint them if you want to take them to tabletop. You can probably do it. I don't. Might be somebody who's insufferable out there who might say something, but at the end of the day, like, he didn't pay for them. You did. And you painted them. So, I mean, who cares? I don't know if these guys have a rule book, but I don't know. Maybe I can choose any rule books and just play by them. Space Wolves, Ultramarines, Dark Templars. I kind of like that too. Like, if I ever do decide to play with them, maybe I can grab any rule book and just play with their rules. But I also don't really know how tabletop works. I kind of know how it works, but not enough to say. And this is our end guy. You see I threw on some detailing work, threw that red on, and there's some silver in there. Kind of hard to see, but that's it. Like, that's the whole shebang. Just put on paint, and if you do it with 2 colors, you could have a tabletop red army. So I hope this video helps some people, and this is going to be the figure I talked about. If this video gets like 100 likes, I'll video record this, painting this guy, or stream it, either one. Alright, bye.